So when people like to be critical of old Pokemon games, they'll kind of have the same talking points over and over. Gen 1 is simple and buggy and psychic types are broken. Gen 2 has a horrible level curve, Gen 3 has too much water, and Gen 4 is too slow. So I wanted to talk about the actual learn sets of Pokemon in Gen 3 because I feel like this is a huge thing that doesn't really get talked about and is pretty major when talking about the actual game balancing, the gameplay, the enjoyability, etc. I was inspired to make this video because me and my friend wanted to make a small ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald that just added more encounters from Gens 1 and 2, but unfortunately we discovered that a ton of Pokemon had almost unusable learn sets, so I wanted to just make a video of our findings. Something I will be putting a lot of emphasis on is same type attack moves. They are a Pokemon's strongest moves and they help establish it as that type, so if a Pokemon does not get moves of its own type, that will be a significant knock on it. I think the first time I realized that Pokemon's learn set was trash as a kid was the Ludicolo line in these games. You get Absorb, Nature Power, and Fake Out, and that's about it. You may be wondering if TMs help, but in these games you can get Bullet Seed at Gym 1. That might not seem bad, but that move is 10 base power and a single use TM. On its water side, Water Pulse seems like a good early to mid game, maybe Gym 3, Gym 4 option, but it's really not that easy. I genuinely think Game Freak was trolling when they put Water Pulse as their reward for beating the 8th gym, 3 gyms after you get the 35 base power stronger Surf, and around half a gym after the player gets the 20 base power stronger Waterfall. If 10-year-old me knows that this Pokemon wasn't well designed, then there's a serious problem in my opinion. Another early game encounter that's designed like a late game encounter is in my opinion the X-Blad line. Looking at Loudred's moveset, you see Uproar at an early level, a 50 base power normal move that locks you into it. But from there it's a bunch of useless moves until you get to level 29 and get Stomp, which isn't even that strong. Because you get Strength so early, Stomp is pretty much useless. The rest of Loudred's moves are either weak moves that you learn early, or status moves that just are not good. X-Ball gets Hyper Voice level 63 though. One more example of trash Hoenn learn sets is Flygon. I'm not sure why so many people are nostalgic for this guy considering how trash he is in his debut gen. Since the only ground or dragon TM you get before Gym 8 is the 60 base power Dig, you are stuck with this trash learn set. For stabs you got the horrible 15 base power and 70 accuracy Sand Tomb and Dragon Breath, then that's it. You get some good dark moves, but they aren't Stab and Vibrava, the guy who you're stuck with for the mid to late game, only has a 50 special attack stat. And to top it all off, Flygon doesn't even have a good move late. Some Pokemon have some pretty bad learn sets until later levels where they finally get something good, but Flygon's last 3 level up moves are Screech, Sandstorm, and Hyper Beam. So moving on to other gens, this one is actually very known. It's Goldeen not getting a single water move until level 38 where it just gets Waterfall, and then not another one after that. This is pretty hilarious, and this is like the type of thing that would have been solved if Water Pulse was early. Goldeen does get early Water Pulse and Fire at Leaf Green, but unfortunately in that game it is considered the worst water type in the game, so using it on Goldeen is probably a waste. Single use TMs definitely hurt a lot of Pokemon in my opinion. This one is pretty sad to me. I always don't like it when pretty bad Pokemon get even worse learn sets, and Arbok has Poison Sting and Acid as its stabs, and Acid is at level 38. Glare is a pretty decent move, although kind of inaccurate in this gen. I would say good move even, but everything else is honestly very terrible. So this next one is a mystery Pokemon. I want you to try to guess what the type of it is. I'll put some types on the screen, and I'm going to let you pause the video and try to guess what type this Pokemon is. Okay, so it is Gligar, the ground flying Pokemon, and it has absolutely 0 stab moves whatsoever. Unless you count Sand Attack as a stab move, even though it is not an attack. But yeah, this is actually like, this is really the type of thing that was honestly sad. It doesn't get any good moves early, in the middle, or at the end, like none at all. Another poison type, this time part bug, it gets 2 stab moves, Poison Sting, the 15 power move at level 1, and Leech Life, the 20 base power bug move at level 25. The reason why this is a Gen 3 centric video is because this is the first gen to have a good move that is fairly distributable across every single type. In Gen 2 and Gen 1, there's some types just did not have good moves, and that's not the Pokemon's problem that it doesn't learn them, right? But this gen, Leech Life as your strongest stab move? Are you serious? Like, come on. There's bug moves like Signal Beam and Silver Wind, and Ariados does not get either of them. It's honestly very sad. Here we got Natu, who learns Peck, and then nothing until level 50 with Psychic. This one was very impressive to me, how they just decided to throw in Psychic at level 50. You might as well have just kept it terrible the entire way. Psychic has plenty good moves that are mid-power, same with flying like Wing Attack and Psybeam, but there's no excuse for this not to one, honestly. This is another Gen 3 Learnset classic. We got Yanma, who gets its first 60 base power stab move at level 43, and it doesn't even have an evolution for Yanmega in this gen, so it is absolutely horrible. This did get fixed in the Fire Red version, where it gets Wing Attack 4 levels earlier. Good job, Game Freak, you saved Yanma. And instead of just nitpicking Pokemon repeatedly, I wanted to do a little experiment, so I have loaded up a random Pokemon generator, which can get Pokemon 1, 2, and 3 in this, and I want to take a look and see how many Pokemon have trash Learnsets. So, let's generate some Pokemon real quick. 6 of them, it's a whole team. And we got Latios, Espeon, Shiftry, Houndoom, Crawdaunt, and Omastar. So let's pull up their Learnsets one by one. So for the first random Learnset, we have Latios. It gets Psychic at level 40, which is when you catch it, so it's probably automatically good. There's no struggling that there's going to be, besides maybe finding a Dragon Stab, but you have Dragon Claw as a TM. So if you really want to go all in on your Latios, then go ahead and use that. So next we have Espeon, and you could argue this is mid because it gets a usable move at level 36, but no, this is a terrible Learnset. You're pretty much not evolving your Eevee at all until level 36 because there's no reason to run just a Confusion Espeon, so I would consider this a trash Learnset for sure. There's a case for mid, but it does get Psychic and Morning Sun at later levels, so there's pretty much no way to argue that it's fully trash. It's just trash until late. So next is the by far worst one of this selection. Shiftry gets no good moves, so we're going to have to look at Nuzleaf, who gets its first stab move, a 60 base power feint attack at level 31. Yeah, I don't know why this thing gets extra sensory, I don't know why it doesn't get any grass moves. This was a disaster Learnset, so this is trash. Houndoom's is like a more extreme version of Espeon. It gets one barely usable move at level 27 Bite, and then from there it is still terrible until you get Flamethrower at level 51 and Crunch at level 59. I'm going to be generous on Crawdaunt and just call this mid. It gets Bubble Beam, which is fairly strong at level 20, which should be enough to be decent until you get Surf. There is no actually good dark move at all. Knockoff is 20 base power, but you do get a decent stab until you get Surf, so I will just put it in mid graciously. And lastly, we have Omastar, whose best attack until level 55 is Water Gun. This is trash, but just saved by having a few decent moves at the end. So the result of this experiment is that there's one Pokemon with a good move pool, and it is a legendary. 3 Pokemon whose Learnsets are complete trash until late in the game. 1 Pokemon whose Learnset is trash in general, and 1 Pokemon whose is passable. This taught me everything I needed to know and backed up what I really thought beforehand. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a sub. I hope you enjoyed.